Love it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cultural Curriculum Chat podcast, where we elevate stories of leadership, learning, and lived experience through a culturally responsive lens. Today, y'all, we have a powerhouse with us. She is the CEO of Girl Scout River Valleys, a champion of community, a strategic leader with heart, and someone committing to building spaces where every girl can shine with courage, confidence, and character. Please help me welcome Mrs. Marissa Williams. Welcome, Marissa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yes. Well, once I figured out from your publicist that introduced us, Julia, she talked about you being the CEO of Girl Scouts River Valley. My little Jebeh heart just like grew 3 inches taller or bigger. Like, because I'm also a fellow Brownie troop girl,
I
from
love
back in the
it.
day. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, shout out to Carbondale, Illinois, Girl Scout troop. Yep, from first grade to third grade. So once I saw you
Awesome.
through socials and all that, I was like, oh, I'm so excited to just get to know you. And let's have my listeners get to know you more, Marissa. Let's understand more of your why. Can you share us a little bit about your story and your values and how you became the leader that you are today?
For sure. So it's so funny, when you talk about being a brownie, I always joke that I'm a brownie dropout, but it still came full circle, right?
Yes, yeah.
You know, I joined Girl Scouts. I was in our South Media troop. Moms and all the aunties were the troop leaders. And it was really an experience of being able to see each other in a mirror. I hear a lot of little girls talk about, and their moms, I don't want my daughter to be the only one. And that's really important. And I think sometimes when you don't look at things from a multicultural lens, you don't understand why that's critical. But for Black and Brown girls to see women who look like them in positions of power does something to you on the inside. And I know it did something for me when I was younger. And so to be able to, be in this seat when I know what I was looking at when I was 8 years old, it's a real powerful full circle moment. And I'm just grateful to be able to be in this place.
That's amazing, Marissa. And like you said, as that 8-year-old girl, seeing your aunties and other women of color in power to say, well, yeah, I see the example right in front of me. Of course, that's a possibility of coming back. It was like your life story was preparing you for this moment. Like there's a reason why you're in that circle and,
Yes.
singing the songs. And yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's talk even more about, your growth from Pittsburgh, and in your community-based roles with the Hearth Foundation and the YMCA. What called you to Girl Scouts River Valleys?
Well, I'm a recovering banker. I started out
Mm.
after college in banking in Chicago, and I thought, okay, well, I guess this is what the next step is. I always knew I wanted to be working in business. I just didn't know where and how. And I'll be honest, my one of my mentors when I was in college, they were working in what used to just be called diversity. Um, and I said, "Oh, I wanna do that when I get older. This is great. You're creating opportunities for people." And they said, "Oh, Marissa, by the time you're old enough, this job won't even exist anymore."
Uh-huh.
Now, what they were saying was, "We will have come so far that we won't need it."
I
Interesting
know. Interesting.
how
Big
how things
interesting. Yeah.
play out, right?
Yeah.
And so, I went into banking thinking, "All right, well, I've been in sales, I started working at the age of 11 because my mom said she was not gonna buy learner jeans for me, and I said, "Oh, I got one for you. I'm gonna go get a job, and I'm gonna figure this out." And for all of those younger folks, learner is like New York and
Yes.
Company, which I don't think
New
exists
York and
anymore.
Company. Ooh,
But
that was
I
the
mean,
look.
let's
Yes.
call it Express, let's call it Lululemon for our babies right now,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
I went out and I got a summer camp counselor job every summer. I could fund my denim jean habit. And so I feel like I've been working for a really long time.
Yeah, I love it. Oh my God. You had me at Learner, New York. Yes.
I know who my people are when they know that
Yes.
name. I do
And that
know.
soft blazer, it was like, and the different
Girl,
colors and the
yes,
stretchy black pants.
you were
Oh,
ready for a
mm,
professional life at like 15. You were good.
yes,
You didn't need Dress for Success. You had it down.
we had
Down.
it. Like we had a 401(k). We didn't know what it was.
But it was great. And so, I got into banking kind of um I know it's not by mistake because I believe that everything happens for a reason, but I interviewed for a teller position my second semester senior year. And the branch manager, Mitch Barkowski, I'll never forget. I walked in and he said, Marissa, I just need you to know I'm not going to hire you. And I was just like, they didn't prepare me in the Career Counseling Center for this statement. What am I supposed to say? And I said, well, Mitch, could you tell me why? And he said, you probably don't understand this now, but like attrition is a real thing and retention is really important. And you're about to graduate college. I don't see you staying here. I said, oh. He said, why do you want the job? I said, honestly, Mitch, to pay my bills.
Mhm.
And he said, well, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to refer you to the retail management training program. It's out of Chicago. I think you'd be perfect for that, but I just don't think it's a good fit here. 2 weeks later, I get a call. They want to interview me, fly me out to Chicago, got the job. I started working in banking in Chicago. The bank I worked for was so small that they thought we were national car rental. So every time I went somewhere, they were like, what are you selling? What is happening?" And I worked in Lincoln Park, which, most people in Chicago, they know exactly where that is. But I took an opportunity because this is a management training program to go to the west side of Chicago, not the West Loop, the west side, and open up our first Community Reinvestment Act branch. And so I experienced for the first time being people who were double and triple my age who had zero financial literacy, had no idea what a bank account should be used for, were keeping money in shoe boxes under their beds. And I said, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be helping people. I'm supposed to be educating people. And so I worked in that CRA branch for some time, transferred back to Pittsburgh, where I graduated from college because I wanted to be closer to home. And I worked in a community in East Liberty. I was the branch manager there. Then I launched a program with the company I was with that was really about teaching the employees of commercial banking customers we had financial literacy. I was like, okay, this is great. I'm still in education, still in sales, still in corporate. And my 5 to 9 time I spent serving on boards. I said, that's the space, right? I want to make sure I'm giving back. I don't have kids, but service is the rent that we pay to live on this earth. And I learned that by watching my mom as I grew up,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so giving back to nonprofits, whether it was, a Christian school board or it was the Urban League gave me so many tools um, that I have used over and over again to grow in my leadership journey, whether it be at the Pittsburgh chapter or when I served on the National Urban League Young Professional Board. And so my 9 to 5, I was like, yes, I'm helping people. And then my 5 to 9, it's like, yes, I'm helping people. This is great. And then I learned these nonprofit folks over here, this is their 9 to 5. You mean I could do this all day in one place? Let me figure out how to do that. And I
Wow.
started interviewing for nonprofit opportunities. And when you don't know that it's an interview, you're painstakingly honest with people. And I met with the COO of the Y, and I just thought he wanted me to serve on his board. And I said, You know what, sir? My dance card's full. I got the ACLU. I had all of these boards and I felt good about the work I was doing. And he said, "Oh, no, I don't want you to serve on my board. I want you to run my downtown Ys."
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
And that started my nonprofit journey. And I was with the Y for 6 years. COVID started COVID with the Y. We shut down multiple locations. And in that time, I was responsible for creating what we call Y Without Walls. So, how do we bring programming to community without them having to have a membership and come into a brick and mortar space? And so during COVID, when we shut down everything, I had to advocate to keep one of our branches open who provided food banks for community. I said, no, no, no. I said, we can shut down the gym, but we still need to stay open for people. We still need to feed people. This is critical. And I called so many restaurants that received PPE money or PPP money, but they were closed. The one restaurant that called me back and said, absolutely, we want to help was Fogo de Chao. And I said, I have this idea. I said, we have this Y on the Fly van. We normally have it filled with hula hoops and all types of outdoor activities. Let's transform this van into a food service mobile. And during 8 weeks in the very beginning of COVID, when everyone was stressed and everyone was scared, we loaded up that van with good food, fully
Mhm.
cooked meals from Fogo, and delivered it throughout the city in Pittsburgh. That was that was the beginning of me really kind of scratching the surface of, "Oh, like, I'm built for this. I'm built for problem solving. I'm built for innovation." And, like, when everyone else is scared and retreating home, I'm jumping out in the middle of what I don't know to make
Yeah.
sure that other people are cared for. And I didn't really realize that until I actually sat back and thought about it when it was all over and was like, "We did an awesome thing." And
Yes.
still to this day, I think that's probably one of my most proud moments when everyone wanted to shut down a facility. We figured out how to keep it open
Yeah.
and still serve community. And
Yes.
that's so
Oh,
important.
that is so important. And just how you had to, like you said, that innovative spirit of, okay, we have this van, clear it out. Let's have it as a mobile food truck so people can
Mhm.
still have access. And like you said, it was a time where we were all scared, didn't know what was happening and what was going to be. But like you said, when people would retreat, you were one of those that were blessed to have that courage to keep going forward. No wonder we got you in this title with the girls. Come on. This is amazing. So, this mission, because I know you're going beyond cookies and, the live by the Girl Scout law, and all those things. Like,
Yes.
what else are you doing to build up our girls with that courage and confidence and character? Like you said with your Y experience at Pittsburgh, like, what are you doing with us here in the Minnesota River Valley area and region?
Well, when you think about the Girl Scout mission, building girls of courage, confidence, and character who will change the world, right? And coming to this organization from Hearth, which was an organization who provided affordable housing and transitional housing for families experiencing homelessness, and more often than not, at the hands of domestic violence, right? And so I transitioned into Hearth, and that was my first CEO opportunity um, at the height of COVID, right? And that happened because somebody saw something about who's this girl creating mobile food trucks and food shelters and oh yeah, you've managed people in housing. I said, "Oh, but I don't work in housing." "It's okay. We're gonna figure it out." I said, "Oh my gosh, who are all these people that think you could just figure it out?" I said, "If you're the CEO, you can't just figure it out." Alas, I started that
Alas.
job in September of 2020
Wow.
and to be in a space where the world is in crisis, but you have crisis in your face every single day dealing with these families and their children.
Mhm.
And it was a space where I'd taken over for a founding CEO, and they'd been there for 24 years. And so trying to build infrastructure and kind of step into this space with your own cute pair of shoes, it's a challenge. And, you know, I was very proud of the work that we were able to accomplish, just elevating the brand awareness of the organization. Companies that had never sponsored or supported Hearth all of a sudden was like, okay, how do we support? How do we have company care days where we can come in and create space for these little people to be able to spark joy? Because that was my biggest thing. It's like the adults know where they are, these babies don't,
You
and they
don't.
deserve to be able to have joy. And so how
Mhm.
do I bring in as much joy for them during the time that they're with me as humanly possible to ensure that there's some normalcy created in this place and it feels like home. Like we painted the entire facility colors that are calming, and so it doesn't feel like institutionalized. We created a
Yes.
home while I was there because that was really important. And so when Girl Scouts reached out, I think it was literally my 2-year anniversary. And I said, Girl Scouts, Minnesota? How'd y'all find me? What?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, Jesus, you know we do not talk about snow. Pittsburgh has enough. Why, pray tell, do you want me to go further west and north? This is
Oh,
close to
North.
Canada. What are we doing? And 3 months later,
You
it was
moved
like,
them.
"Yep, you're moving to Minnesota." And I said, "You know what? I think I can spark joy in the hearts of little girls. I think I can be a good example for what diversity looks like in leadership." This is the first time in, I think, ever that we have nationally had over 15 Black female CEOs in Girl Scout councils across this country.
I'm saying I've never until I've met you in your circle. Yeah.
And
Wow.
they're a dynamic bunch. Um, we understand our assignment. We know why
Mm.
we're in the position that we're in. Um, and while I recognize the package that I show up in, I am here to make sure that every girl feels like they belong and every girl feels special in this organization and that they feel that they are able to not take agency from somewhere, but really to make sure that they understand that they were born with it. And we're just here to help you discover what that is, right? Because
Yes.
girls have agency. And it's important for us to show them how do you amplify not only your voice, but your sister's voice. And we make it a really great chorus, right? And so this has been not just what I have called heart work, um, but it truly is where my passion and purpose intersect to be able to create some magic because Girl Scouts has been around for over 113 years. And to infiltrate a legacy organization as a disruptor, I'm wearing my
Mm.
troublemaker badge,
Troublemaker.
right?
Yes. Oh, yes. I love it. Love the
And I
answering
love
zone.
getting into good trouble
Yeah.
because there are spaces that we are currently in that weren't created for us to be in.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that every girl that comes behind us, every young woman who steps into this seat knows that while it might not have been created for you, you're here and you belong. And so we
Yes.
don't need to perform, we don't need to pretend. We need to show up as our unapologetic, authentic selves. And then the magic that happens is you free others to show up as their authentic selves. And then shoulders relax and people sit back. And there's a comfort in just being.
Just being and not have to like you said, prove your worth to be in that space, you know?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's been around for over 113 years and still it was not how it is now, you know? And that's what I have that joy in seeing you and your work and having Lovey Ajayi Jones come and speak to all those girls at your conference. It's just it's so incredible of what you've done in such a short amount of time, but also I can't wait to see how much you go. You're like, "Oh, honey, I'm just getting started." Like, you got your troublemaker patch, like, let's go. And just that energy that you have, you know, and showing that power of partnerships with girls to be themselves, to relax and say, wow, I don't have to put on a mask to show that I can appease other people. And to see these women in, like, you're, you know, going back to, you know, your early childhood of seeing these women in power. And like you said, you know, 14 other women of color are CEOs throughout the organization to say, "Yeah, we are here and we're not
Mm.
going anywhere, and there's gonna be more of us to
Yeah.
bring it to the table." And, oh my gosh, I mean, in speaking of that powerful partnership, how do you see Girl Scouts with families and community leaders shaping the future of Girl Scouts? Because like you said, we're just getting there. We're not at the peak, but we're getting to the
No,
top.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well, when you think about courage, right? It's not about doing things without fear. It's doing it in spite of, right? And today, there are so many things that you could be fearful of. There's so many things that could make you just throw in the towel and call it quits. And I think in this season, we're being called as leaders to lean in and tap into our young girls and women to say, "Mm-mm, that's not the message for you." In this moment, when people are telling you to be quiet, we're telling you to use your voice, right?
Yes.
Confidence is knowing about who you are, even when social media is constantly telling you, no, you want to be this person. You want to look like this, right? And character is about choosing empathy and justice when it might just be easier to look away. And so it's not about just using these words so that people feel like we know what we're talking about. It's about what are the activities and actions we're putting behind these words to ensure that our young people can identify, how do I know I have that thing? How do I know I have confidence? How do I know I have courage? How do I know how to operate with a sense of character? What are the things that are going to tell me that I've got it and I'm exercising those muscles so that when I get to a place where I actually have to use it, it's instinctual, right? And I tell our young people and their parents, some things are taught and some things are caught. So,
Mm,
what are we allowing our young girls to catch us doing, right?
yes, yeah.
And that's something that I learned from my pastor, and she's dynamic. And I was just like, "Oh, Jory, I'm taking that." I said, "Because let
Mm,
me tell you, our babies need to hear that, and so do their parents, right? Because it's not just what we tell them to do, it's how are we behaving? And
mhm,
how young do girls start imitating and emulating their mothers? So if they
right,
see you in the mirror, oh, this doesn't look right, or oh, this doesn't fit right, then they're all of a sudden, your voice is their inner voice.
mhm,
What am I seeing my parents doing? I need to all of a sudden start to internalize. What if our young people started to see us speak positive affirmations over ourselves every morning? How much more dynamic would they be, right? How
mhm,
much more powerful would they be? I learned that my voice is my son's inner voice. It changed the way that I talk to him,
yes,
right?
yes, yes,
And it's not just about our young girls. We have to also cultivate real spaces where our young men know how to treat them, right?
yes,
Know how to
yes,
respect them. And it wasn't until
mhm,
the Barbie movie came out that I learned, I said, "Ooh, I have quite literally raised my son in the Barbie movie." Yes, he has a dad who is dynamic and powerful, and he's a man of Alpha Phi Alpha, and, he has all the good male examples. But when
Yeah.
I tell you this baby, his doctor was a woman, his dentist was a
It's
woman,
a woman, yeah.
his teachers and administrators were women, and he got here to Minnesota, and his first year in 3rd grade, he said, "Mom, for the first time in my life, boys are in charge of everything." And I had to pause and think about that, and I said, wow, I have really cultivated a space where you think women
Mhm.
run the entire world. And I love that for you
Yes,
because you won't be
yes.
surprised when you
You won't be
engage with
surprised.
powerful ones. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, "Oh, are you lost?" Or, "Ooh," have
Right.
their own bias behind there. You're just like, "No, I'm here. My name is on
Right.
the door."
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Oh, I love that for him too. And again, seeing you in your role, he's seeing you and saying, "Wow, if my mom can do it, I know she is cultivating young women to also take her up into those
Yeah.
same roles as well." It is possible because my mom does it every day and she's home with me, and she's doing all the things. It's
That
like, yeah,
part.
we make this CEO moms make this look easy,
Look easy.
Just-
Lord. Just peel back the curtain. Who's been there? How are we doing this?
Goodness. But you're right though, listening to that inner voice is your mother's voice,
Mhm.
and how your mom and how these adults behave in front of their children that you are working with every day influences them way more than the mentors around their sphere. And of course, social media does too, is saying, oh, don't emulate yourself, emulate this person. They have how many clicks and how many followers, and this is
Yep.
the thing. So oh yeah, we can talk about this all day. But I am just so excited to see that one, that you are in this wonderful position that you're in, and two, that you're using your hard work and your courage, your grace, because coming into an established organization as Girl Scouts, we all have our lens of how it is. We all have,
Mhm.
like I said, our memories, because I was all about selling the cookies,
Uh-huh.
and my mom would she'd sew the patches and all that. So just having that in our minds of wow, and having those memories of Girl Scouts and camps and things like that. That's when I got the chicken pox.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
So those are those core memories that you take with and go, wow, but
Yeah.
we built those bonds and those friendships working together as girls, problem solving, doing projects together, learning survival skills. What other kind of challenges and opportunities do you see that are on the horizons for Girl Scout River Valleys?
So, one of the things that I don't know if I intended it to be my tagline, but it is here. It has stuck. I am almost 3 years new to Minnesota and 3 years new to Girl Scout, and we are not just cookies, camps, and crafts. It's something that everybody kno they're like, "Okay, Marissa, I want the cookies, but I know that's not all we do." And I'm like, "Hey, as long as you know." And
Oh, yeah.
and as soon as I got here, I was like, "Okay, what am I going to really become a part of the Minnesota culture and community?" Um, as a very staunch Pennsylvania girl. I grew up in Media, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philly. I went to the University of Pittsburgh. So I'm like, I am Pennsylvania through and through. And I'm like,
Yes.
okay, the Midwest, let's figure this out. And I will never forget the first phone call I made to try and schedule a meeting with a relatively large corporation. They said, okay, you're with the Girl Scouts. Do you wanna sell us cookies? And I said, "Oh, I'm a grown up. I don't sell cookies." And they
Sure.
said, "Oh, well, what are we gonna talk about?" And in my mind, I was so shocked at the lens being so just low, right?
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
what is possible when you
Yes.
talk about combining business resources and the future leaders of Minnesota's workforce.
That part
Because
right
that's who
there.
we are.
That's who
right?
we are.
And
Yes.
so if you want these young people to have the core competencies that you need to ensure that your business will continue to grow, you have to invest early. And
Yes.
so it's not about investing when they're in college, it's too late. And
Too
then
late.
you don't want to do these training programs because you feel like, well, the training programs that they did in the 2000s and the 90s, those people got trained and then they went somewhere else. Understood.
Exactly. Mhm.
Person,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And so how do
yes,
you do it where it's a long-term investment? It's not something that you're going to turn around and get your bang for your buck immediately.
yes, yes.
But something that I say often, like, this is crock pot work. This is not microwave, right? You have to
Oh,
invest early and you
yes.
have to allow that thing to really come alive through all the different things that you put into that crock pot. So if we're going to put in workforce, we're going to put in leadership, we're going to put in college and career readiness, we're going to throw in
Mhm.
entrepreneurship through the cookie program. We're going to throw in
Yes,
some horses because guess what? We need outdoor time and we need to
yes.
learn what does joy and fun and nature look like. We want to make sure that we throw in camping, right?
Yes.
And we want to have some dynamic women and men in
Mhm.
spaces to pour into our young people so that when they graduate from high school, it's not, oh, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do. They've been thinking about this for years because you've
Yeah.
been exposing them to what is possible. And their
Yes.
ideas of dreaming big, it's no longer dreaming, it's plans and action,
That
right? So
part.
our
Plans
babies
and
go from
actions.
dreaming
Yes.
to strategic planning for their life, right?
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
we're trying to cultivate here. So when people are
Mm.
like, all right, you want to sell cookies, the cookie program for Girl Scouts is the largest entrepreneurship program for girls in the world. No one else
Mm.
does it like we do
Mm.
it. And yes, the
Mhm.
cookies taste great.
Yes.
But the business skills and ethics these young people are learning around how to start a business, how to market their business, how to rebound from their first no, right? Because,
Yes. Oh,
you know,
yeah. You have
a
to get used to
5-year-old is going to hear a
rejection.
no with a cookie.
Mhm.
And the
Yes.
way that some of our customers, because we have to tell our people how to be good customers during cookie
Mhm.
season,
Mhm.
our 5-year-olds don't care that you're on a diet. You can just say, no, thank you
Thank you.
and move on. And that's okay. There is
Mm.
nothing that is going to take you out in these cookies.
Mm.
If you want,
Mhm.
you could just donate to the cause
That's it.
because
Yes.
they need infrastructure, they need signs, they need markers, they need all the things. You can
Yes.
help support those pieces, right? And so
Exactly.
it's about really training up our young people for the lives that they are ultimately going to inherit. And so
Yes.
many adults say, you know what? I learned that at Girl Scouts. It sounds crazy, but
Yes.
yeah, I learned how to not take rejection personally for standing in
Mhm.
front of a cub,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like these
Yes.
are life skills that these young people are learning and they will pay dividends. I think Girl Scouts USA loves data, right? And so I think this stat, and don't hold me to it, but I think 1 in 5 female CEOs have been a Girl Scout,
Right here. Yes.
right?
It's
And
huge. It's huge.
we were just at, we were an event sponsor for Women by Women through the Biz Journal in St. Paul. And we had trefoil stickers for every woman who registered and it said, have you been a Girl Scout? And they said, yes, they got the trefoil on their name badge. And we had a moment where we asked in the room, everyone who has been a Girl Scout, please stand up. And to see the leaders of organizations across St. Paul and Minneapolis, I mean, they definitely caught me with, I was fighting a tear. It was really trying to come
Mm.
down. And I was like,
I already got
no, we're
chill
going to keep
bumps.
it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
to see
wow.
all of these women stand up and say that they see each other because they had a similar experience that connected them, right? They might not have
Mhm.
been in the same troop, but they know some songs. They've all
Yeah.
sold cookies. They've all had
Mhm.
a beret or a uniform, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it is so powerful to see that. In part, I'm like, I wish our young people could see, oh my gosh, the such and such of, or even the editor, the publisher of the Biz Journal, she was a Girl Scout. Now, how many young people are thinking about communications? Like, well, maybe I want to do that. Can I go talk to
Exactly.
Whitney Lear? Like, how do I
Yes.
miss Whitney Lear? But yes, how do we go do that? Right. And
Yes.
so it's just, again, that representation piece. Children can't aspire to be what they can't see. And so,
Oh,
how do
that's
we
right
make sure that
there.
we put ourselves in their path so
Yeah.
that we can ensure that they don't have barriers to access to get
Yes.
beyond where we are?
Mhm. Oh my goodness, that is so, so powerful. My grandfather used to have this saying in Liberia, that's where I'm from originally. And he said, you educate a man, you educate an individual, but if you educate a girl, she educates her whole community. And just hearing you speak about your life's journey and educating these young women to be these powerful leaders, honey, your legacy will come tenfold. I can just feel it and see it. And we'll have that crock pot full of these girls holding their crock pot saying, oh, yes, under Mrs. Williams, I was in her space at that time, having that confidence to be
Yeah.
who I am. And so I commend you. I'm so honored to have you on this show with us today. And, oh, I can't wait to just see you in person and give you the biggest hug and sing
Thank
her, "On my
you.
honor, I will try
I'll
the
try.
duty to be loved," and that's it. Okay, you don't wanna hear
I
that,
love it.
but I had the best time. And where can our listeners and viewers on YouTube follow you, Miss Marissa?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram under Marissa C. Williams. You can check me out on LinkedIn the same exact way. And on our Girl Scout Instagram channels and our website, Girl Scouts R as in river, V as in valleys.org.
That. Oh, and I will also have Marissa's information in the show notes. Oh man, friends, make sure you follow Marissa's work and continue to support her organization that uplifts girls and empowers community. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and stay culturally connected. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.